Hi, friends. Welcome to Lotus in the Light. My name's Jennifer. Thanks for joining. I'm not exactly sure where this message is going to go, but I do feel inspired to talk about a walk that I took today. So I was driving somewhere. I decided to drive through this neighborhood I really love. And then while I was driving through, I thought it was I started to get hot. And then I cracked my window and then I'm like, is it warm enough to walk? Because I do like to walk that neighborhood. So I thought it was too cold, but then when I got out of my car, it was not. It was nice and warm, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna take a walk here. So I started walking, and I ended up um, going down a path that went into a wooded area. I've walked the community before, but I've never went down this path into the woods, and I thought I'm gonna do it. And I was having such a pleasurable time. It was just bringing me such joy, and I remember thinking like, oh, there's so many people that'd be like, don't you go back in those woods by yourself. That's dangerous. Something could happen to you. But I had no fear about it. And um and that feels really important because I did a little short video on it and posted it. And in that video, you know, talked about just the importance of being so tuned in. When you get to that place where you're so tuned in to spirit and connected to spirit, there's no reason to fear because spirit's always protecting you. Um, I believe, and you can always ask if you're uncertain about that, but spirit's protecting you from what is not in your highest and best interest, what's not for your highest and best good. And I do trust that. So if there was danger lurking there, that wasn't for my highest and best good, I will say that. That wasn't for my highest and best good. Spirit would have nudged me. And I don't mean spirit would have made me afraid. I would have felt fear. That's not what I mean. Spirit's language isn't fear. That fear is your ego trying to protect you. Nudges is how spirit protects you. Spirit will tell you and nudge you in the direction you need to go to protect you from the things that aren't beneficial for you. Now, sometimes we ignore or don't hear, we're not tuned into those nudges. And then we find ourselves in situations that perhaps weren't for our highest and best good. We're still going to learn and grow from those, and that's okay. But if we tune in and we follow that divine guidance, which is a still small voice, uh, that will help us on this journey. And here's the beauty of it. And there was something I said in the video that I'm like, I'm going to have to expand upon this. I made the comment that, that the divine, that God will, protect me from harm. Um, and I believe that. But here's the thing, it's not what you think. It's when you're in that place of knowing, when you're in tune to spirit, the idea isn't that a quote unquote bad thing will never happen to you. It's that you trust that if something happens, um, it was for your highest and best good. And there was something that you needed to learn or experience in that. So if I would have gotten lost in the woods, or if I would have, gotten hurt in the woods, or, something like that, or God forbid somebody attacked me in the woods or something like that, that because I was tapped in and tuned into spirit, and I felt like I was following my path of joy, and I felt good about going in that direction. Should something like that have happened, I would have known that it was allowed to happen for a reason. Um, Being tuned into spirit, I would have sensed yeah, let's not go in there. And that's different than I'm afraid to go in there. What's in there? What's lurking? It would have been more of oh, let's go over here and do this instead. Or maybe a phone call comes in that kind of redirects me away from the walk, or, something like that, not something scary. And so that's the big difference. Oh, we've got a card. Um, and that's the big difference is that um, when we tune in, God's response, God's guidance to us doesn't come through fear. we cannot be tuned into our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system at the same time. Those are two different operating systems in our body, and we're in tune to one or the other. Our parasympathetic nervous system is the system of rest, recovery, digestion. It's when our body is just doing the things it's supposed to be doing on the daily. That's when we are tuned into our heart and tuned into spirit. Our sympathetic nervous system is our fight, flight, or freeze system. That's the system that says danger, 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 danger. And that's all you can focus on is finding the dangers. Okay. That's where fear comes from. So spirit, God does not operate in the sympathetic nervous system. Okay. So if you can keep yourselves out of that system through deep breathing, through evaluating your beliefs when you feel a fear, maybe it's sometimes when you're in the fear, you can't work your way out of it. It's just best to go do what you think you need to do to be safe and then examine it later. But anyway, and part of the reason I say all this is that we're constantly in this, we tend to live life through the eyes of either I'm in control or I'm a victim. It's one of those two scenarios. But what I would say is you've always been in control. You are just choosing, oftentimes subconsciously or unconsciously choosing what you are going to allow into your life or not, and what you're going to allow to steer you and guide your direction. But you've always been in control. But you don't know it when we cut ourselves off from the divine. We don't often know that we're in control, and we're looking for ways to control the things around us, the externals. But that's not where the control resides. There's an internal strength, an internal power that we have that we don't realize we have. Okay, so let's see here. So I pulled from the Biblical Tarot, just because when I left the previous message, I referenced a scripture in First Timothy, Second Timothy. Anyway, one of the books of the Bible. So anytime I reference scripture, I like to circle back and pull a biblical tarot card. So let's just see what we got here. But the scripture that I referenced was just about not operating in fear, which is what I've been saying, right? After this is from Judges 16:19. Sorry, 10 of feathers is what this is. And I have to look in here because I forget what feathers equates to. Oh, that's not the page that tells me what feather. I think that would be wands. Yeah, okay. Yep. Okay. So 10 of feathers is the same as wands in the tarot. So basically that is all about intellect, intelligence, wisdom, right? It's this. Judges 16:19 says, after putting him to sleep on her lap, she called for someone to shave off the 7 braids of his hair, and so began to subdue him, and his strength left him. Oh, this is perfect. Okay. So this is Samson loses his strength. This is all about after putting him to sleep on her lap, she called for so his strength was in his hair. And by cutting off his hair, he lost his strength. See how his strength was given up through something external, something physical. He was allowing something physical to determine where his strength came from. And we do that every single day. We allow our mind, again, your egoic mind's purpose, so it thinks, is to guide you and protect you. But it doesn't have full perspective. It doesn't know all the things. So would you ask a child to protect you out in the world? Would you take a city person out to the wilderness and say, okay, can you protect me out here? No, you want somebody that has the experience, the knowledge, the know-how. Well, guess who does? You do at the soul level. God does. That resides here in your heart. That's where your guidance should be coming from. Samson's strength isn't in anything external, certainly isn't in his hair. Okay. But that's where we get caught up. That's where we get caught up. Let's do one more card. So this is 10. That's the end of a cycle, beginning of a new cycle. So it sounds like you're discovering that and starting to explore that idea that, where does my strength come from? Where, uh, where does my courage come from? It comes from that deep inner knowing. And that deep inner knowing does not come from a place of fear. It comes from a place of peace and quiet. It comes from turning this down. Okay, so let's say it this way. When you experience something and you have an immediate feeling of fear, that fear is coming from thoughts, from your egoic mind, right? From here. There's some experience mix. It's not like it's coming from complete ignorance. You've had life experience, you have memories, you also have um, your own traumas, you have generational trauma that's been passed down in your DNA. So there's some things that are telling your mind, danger, 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 right? And so when we're trying to decide where spirit's taking us and leading us and where we will be safe, where we will find the joy, where we will find the peace. And our mind's saying, it's not over there, it's not over there, it's not over there, right? Because of X, Y, and Z. What we really want to be doing is turning that down and turning up the heart. Okay. So you're trying to change the radio station, right? You're tuned in to the mind. You need to change the station and tune into the heart. But what we tend to do is we tend to overthink and overanalyze everything because we're looking for logic and reason and experience and all of that to tell us what the right thing to do is. When we do that, we clutter our mind. I like this, clear out the clutter. We clutter our energy with those thoughts. But thoughts do not equal truth. And that's what we need to realize. Thoughts do not equal truth. I could have walked into those woods and said, oh my gosh, there could be something lurking. The ground was kind of wet. I could slip and fall and out here. Nobody would find me. I mean, there's a million things I could have been afraid of, and I would have missed out on that beautiful experience if I would have let the cluttering million thoughts take over. And if I would have just tuned into those, I would have missed this really beautiful, peaceful, thoughtful, lovely walk. Okay. That clearly spirit guided me to. Clearly spirit guided me to. I wasn't even going to take a walk. Thought it was cold out. So it was clearly where I was supposed to go. And I would have missed it if I would have gotten caught up in these ideas of fear. So what that tends to be what we do. The fear sets in and we start analyzing and listening. And what we end up doing is we end up turning up the volume on the thoughts. Well, this is already a still small voice. So if you're trying to find God in your life and you're trying to find God in your choices, turning up the thought process isn't the way to do it. You got to change the station. It's a whole different station. It's like you think of people when you hear of people being tortured by being put in like these prison cells and they blare in that crazy metal music. And it's like, people you start going insane because they can't turn that off. They can't get, you know, and that's the clutter of our minds. That's what we have to lose and let go of. And those things that are in our mind are these ideas, I'll dare say, call them beliefs. But beliefs are nothing more than thoughts that we think over and over again, and we allow them to become the narrative in our life. And Frog Spirit says, clear out that clutter. Okay, I'm just going to read this. Frog Spirit knows that while all the other frogs are croaking away, this is a time for you to simplify and declutter your life so you can feel content on your own lily pad. Now, I will say things in the physical mirror things in our emotional and spiritual life. So when you do have that motivation to like clean house, like do that spring cleaning, it's usually because you are trying to declutter in your mind, in your heart. You know what I mean? So this could manifest itself both physically emotionally, spiritually, all the ways. And it could and it should and it probably will. Even when life isn't creating a total cacophony, is that how you say that? We can become drawn to the excitement of lots of noise. Then the next thing we know, our schedules and homes are cluttered with commitments we regret making and objects taking up valuable space. Even relationships need decluttering as they often become messy. Frog Spirit appears to tell you to clean house, prioritize what you need, and get rid of or give away the rest so you can have some space in your day and in your head. You don't need the old stuff and its stories shouting at you about the past. Along with the physical clutter, friendships are sometimes kept long past their expiration date. For some reason, that feels like somebody listening, some of you listening really need to hear that. I don't know why that's like sticking out. Friendships are sometimes kept long past their expiration date, weighing you down with unnecessary baggage. Now is the time to let that go. Whatever you need will appear when you need it. So release your grip on all that clutter that's making you feel anxious and burdened. Frog Spirit wants you to reclaim your space unencumbered by shoulds, oughts, and could have beens. Let go and jump. You are free from all that old stuff. The protection message is what's weighing you down. Is it time for a spiritual and physical cleansing? Are you overdue for letting go of the voices that surround you? This may have started to get they may have started to get into your head, these voices that bog you down and keep you from leaping forward into a better situation. Let others croak and create their dramas while you make space for yourself and for hearing your own thoughts as they arise. Declutter your schedule and stop trying to do it all and then some. Let others manage their own baggage rather than allowing it to be dumped on you, for your lily pad needs to be clear of others' clutter. Frog Spirit may also come bearing a message about your physical space. Do you hold on to things because you're afraid of losing your energetic connection to the past, to people who no longer are in your life, or to goals you never pursued? Or could you have these items around because you feel guilty if you get rid of them? Are your storage and living spaces stuffed with reminders of what you are not when they should be holding only objects that reflect who you are and inspire to be? If something is no longer making you feel joyful, empowered, and excited, Frog Spirit is telling you to let it go and free yourself to leap forward into something new, trusting you will always have what you need. I love this. I have one more little story to share. I was looking back earlier today at my journal entry from the same day a year ago, and I was journaling about finding inspiration for like social media content for my business that I had started that was dying. It was already dead, basically, but it was like I so believed that this business, because it had implications to environmental and social well-being, it felt like it was the way I was going to help love and heal the world. And so I was reluctant to let go of it. Once I finally did, now looking back reading that, it was like, wow, what a burden I was carrying. I was trying so hard. I was holding on to this business and holding on to everything about this business. Um, and it really wasn't my passion. I was passionate about what the business could do for the world, but I wasn't passionate about the business itself. So anyway, sometimes you just gotta like just let go and say, that's not me. I really believed that spirit was guide at that time. I really believed that spirit was guiding me towards a path forward where that business was going to find success. But when I really started to declutter my thoughts, what I realized is I was just holding on to that business because of I needed it to succeed because I needed the financial freedom from the business expenses. That's what it boiled down to, right? And once I let go and just trusted and said, you know what, I'm just going to trust that spirit's going to eliminate that business debt, whether the business succeeds or not, and that I'm going to be able to fulfill my purpose of bringing light and love and healing to the world, whether it's through that business or not. Like I still had those same basic goals of like being of helping heal this world through love. my personal mission statement is loving people and building healthy relationships. And so this business was one way to do that. Anyway, but once I like let go of the sound bites in my head that said this has to be the path, this has to be the path. You have to make this business work. Once I was able to let that go, the freedom I found, declutter, declutter. Now I'm just sitting on the inventory. So now I do need to physically declutter from that business. But anyway, okay, sorry to add that extra story in, but it felt relevant. Okay, I love you all. Peace out. Hope you have a wonderful day.